Hello. So happy to be here with you. We are here in episode 104. Welcome to the Rise Up and Share Your Medicine podcast. My name is Lisa Espinosa. I apologize, my microphone wasn't working today, so it might sound a little echoey. I'm sorry about that. But today we're going to talk about deprivation, how deprivation hinders leadership. And I'll explain what that means shortly. Just in case you haven't connected with me before, I am a spiritual career coach and I help my clients connect with their soul, like mentor with their soul every day, and to be led from that place. And from that place, share their gifts, their unique gifts. I call that your soul's medicine, with impact and with joy in a way that blesses you in the process. In fact, today I wrote a blog I shared in my newsletter called something like helping others or helping yourself, almost like you feel like you have a choice. Either I help a lot of people, but I suffer, or I take really good care of myself, but then I can't help as many people. And that's faulty thinking. That's what it feels like when we're led through our egoic mind, through our intellect. And so what I teach my clients to do, what I coach them, what I help them with, is to lean into their soul's infinite capacity so that they can create their legacy of love through their career, through their creative projects. So anyway, so we're here every week to talk about, to share teachings that will help you with this. So today specifically is about deprivation. And what does deprivation mean? I actually looked up the definition. I mean, I knew what it meant, but I wanted to know it can be useful to look at the dictionary definition. And it says, the lack or denial of something considered to be a necessity. So listen to that again. The lack or denial of something considered to be a necessity. So the reason I started to think about deprivation is because as I've been preparing for our 6-week journey that starts on October 28th, called Blessed, I've been thinking about, well, what's the opposite of being blessed? And I thought of there's lots of opposites actually. There's being cursed, there's sacrifice, but there's also deprived. And so I was thinking about this and I was like, wow, how does that hinder our leadership? And when I say the word leadership, please do not discount that. If you're like, well, I'm not a leader. Yes, you are a leader. If you are here, you're a leader. All a leader is, leadership is in divine feminine leadership, in spirituality, a leader is someone who is here to serve. A leader is someone who has agreed, even if we don't remember this, to go first, meaning like we are ahead of the crowd, not because we're better, but because we said yes to that calling and we're ahead of the crowd, which means we experience the initiations first, the transformative experiences, the challenging experiences. And we experience them first so that we can help others, just like there were leaders before us who experienced things and then made the path easier for us. And so that's what a leader is. Now, what is so crazy about spiritual leadership is that often we feel like we're going backwards or like there's something wrong with us, rather than recognizing, oh, what's actually happening is I agreed to be in the front line to experience all these things ahead of others. And that's a noble calling. I did that because I wanted to help others and because I knew that as I did that, I would be so blessed. But instead, this world, this is also part of the sacred mission, has us believe that we're somehow slower or we're not as blessed as other people, or what is wrong with us that we keep experiencing these challenges, when in truth, that was part of what we signed up for. Now, I'm not saying we signed up for suffering and sacrifice. In fact, that's what today's podcast episode is about. That's why the 6-week journey, Blessed, is all about, is healing all those old beliefs, all that old programming. And so if you're here as a leader, which if you're drawn to this, you are here to be of service, whether you're a therapist, a coach, a body worker, any profession. Most of my clients are in the wellness profession, but I also have clients who are business women. They're in marketing and sales, but they have, even in that situation. Of course, like service is needed in every sector. So they know they have this divine mission. They might not talk about it as publicly as, say, some of my clients that are coaches, or coaching with the angels, or with the ascended masters, but they know in their heart that that's what they're here to do. And so think about what it is you need. What are your needs in order to keep showing up and being of service at your highest capacity? What are the things you need? Now, for this conversation, I'm not considering those basic needs like, sorry, like food, water, oxygen. I'm just going to say we have those. Okay, so we will say. Now, that isn't to dismiss that I know there are many people who don't even have that, lodging and food and all of that. But for this conversation, I'm talking to you who has those needs met, right? Even if you're like, well, I wish I had a bigger house or whatever, but in this moment, you have a home, you have food, you have shelter, you have oxygen to breathe, right? And you have, I'm sure, so much more as well. But what are the needs specifically that you require in order to be of service, in order to lead authentically? Now, to your highest capacity, what do I mean by that? I mean showing up with the most authenticity, with the most open heart, with the most just without attachment. That's really challenging. That's something, I mean, that's something I have to practice over and over and over and over and over and over and over, because our ego structure always gets attached. So, oh, I'm going to teach a class. I hope I have 20 people in it. That will make me feel really good. It'll make me feel like I'm a good person, like I'm valuable, like what I have to offer is worthy, and na 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 na. That's all attachment. There's nothing wrong with having goals. I have goals, but it's like, can we show up truly being like an instrument for our soul, right? An instrument for the divine. And the only way we can do that is we need to recognize, well, what are our needs? And these are some of the needs, okay? What is required on this path of leadership and service is a lot of self-love. That is really, really like non-negotiable. And the reason you need so much self-love, and what does self-love mean? Ultimately, what self-love means is letting your soul love you. Because again, our humanity that's limited, has an ego structure, has all these kind of warped ideas of what love is. But your soul loves you unconditionally now and always. So self-love, what it means, it's a practice of getting out of the way and letting your soul love you. And that is so needed, because on this path of service and leadership, you are going to experience disappointments. You are going to experience people that either ignore you, they're like, who is this person? I don't get what she's talking about. Or they will show up and then judge you, like, I don't agree with you. I remember when I shared this story, but when my first book, Answering Your Inner Calling, came out, and I started doing book talks. Back then, it was around Chicago, because that's where I was living. That's where I was born and raised. Now I've relocated. I'm in Mexico, but in Chicago, I would go around and do these book talks, and I was terrified, because my whole book was about following your soul's guidance, and I was like, oh my gosh, somebody's gonna ask me, like, question me, like, how do you know about the soul? Who are you to know? Well, tell me whatever, something that I wouldn't know the answer to. And of course, that did happen. It wasn't the majority. There were plenty of people who were so happy to hear my teachings and were like, oh my gosh, that really resonates. But definitely, I remember one in particular, this man who was in my talk, and I was really afterwards like, why did he even come? But he was just the whole time just really there to test me. Like, well, how do you know? I think he asked me this question, like, how would you define the soul? Like, from this very kind of academic place. And of course, now I understand, like, literally, you can't define the soul. Like, words fail us when we're wanting to explain something that is beyond the ego structure, beyond the intellect. But anyway, I digress. Going back to the point that when you're saying yes to the divine, yes to your soul, there will be those things. There will be disappointments. There will be times where you create something that you think is so beautiful, Oh, thank you, Jill. I think you were at the talk. Yes. Um, that you create something, a class, a book, a meditation, a marketing technique, right? Like you create something and it's something that feels so personal because you poured all your heart and soul into it. And then you share it. And then there's crickets, like nobody's watching, right? Or there's like, I don't get it. What does that mean? Right. And that can feel really like, like a hurt. And I'm not saying this to scare you off from this path at all. I just want to normalize this. On Instagram Live, I talked about that today. These past hurts that we have that cause us to like, it's almost like they turn our gifts into a toxic pattern. So you can watch that on Instagram Live. But going back to this moment, right? So because that will happen, you'll also have many people that feel blessed by you and are like, oh my gosh, you're my answered prayer. I didn't even know I was looking for this, but hearing you, I know like this is exactly what I need. But we tend to focus on the hurts, right? And that is why one of the things you need the most on this path is self love. Self love, self approval, right? And you definitely also need time, like time for yourself, time to tend to yourself. Like we all have specific needs, but I know for me that's a really important one, and it doesn't have to be like hours and hours and hours, although it's nice to have that at some point. But it's like even just little moments, right? You've heard me talk about those moments we carve throughout the day to just even notice. Like I had one of those wounds happen this Monday. It was like, and it was in my coaching container, meaning like with my coach and my teacher. It was very vulnerable, being coached in a group and kind of share some experiences that I've been having. And that felt so vulnerable. Of course, everybody was lovely and nice and everything. And the coach, my coach, who I adore and love, and she's so amazing, pointed out this like limiting belief I was having. And I'm so grateful. I mean, I needed to hear that. And again, she said it very compassionately. She wasn't like yelling at me or anything like that, because that's not the coach, the type of coach I am. That's not the coaches I want in my life. But it was still like, it brought up so much like, oh my God, it's almost like these parts were like, oh, I can't believe I went to that place again. I can't believe I fell into that pattern again. And then I had so much shame. Like I was literally just beating myself up about it, even though she was saying, this is your opportunity to respond differently to it. Instead of like blaming yourself, can you respond with self-love and da da da, all this stuff. And so that was Monday. Today is Wednesday. I mean, I did a lot of work since then, right? Like to really, and what's so interesting, this gets back to this deprivation. My initial instinct, you can call it, I guess, was to withdraw. Like I just wanted to like hide. Like after that call was done, I was like, I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to watch the recording because in this container, it's all recorded. It's like I don't want to journal. I don't want to talk about it. I just like wanted to withdraw. And it was interesting to notice that and be like, wow, like I'm actually, what's happening in that moment is I'm depriving myself of what I actually need. Right? What I actually need is lots of love right now. Like I actually need to be kind to myself. I actually need just to like, oh my gosh, welcome my soul here to be with me. Right. And because I've practiced this for so long, and because I have an amazing coach, and because like I kept showing up, even though I wanted to withdraw, I was like, no, that would be depriving myself. And I was also preparing for this podcast. So how perfect, right? That I was like, oh, I'm literally feeling like this is what we do. We deprive ourselves, because it wasn't my soul depriving me. It wasn't like my soul was saying, oh, you got stuck in that pattern again. Bye. I'm going to leave till you figured it out. My soul wasn't there. My soul was like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're seeing this so that it can be healed. It's an opportunity. It's coming up for like true healing, like this deeper healing of this pattern than ever before. But this is the heroic human journey we're on, that we are, even though I'm a soul, yes, I so believe that. I also have a human brain. I also have an ego structure. And that's constantly going to be pulling me to lean into my ego structure instead. What I could have really done is like, all right, I'm just going to go into problem solving mode and figure it out and and not feel my feelings. But it was like, no, it was this integration of both. So when you deprive yourself, what you're doing of anything, self love, when you're depriving yourself of self care, when you're depriving yourself of the truth, sometimes we do that. And which is why I continually choose to coach and be with coaches, because that's what they do, right? They hold the vision for us. That's what I do for my clients, not in a mean way, not, but like holding the light of truth. Because sometimes in our own head we're like kind of spinning. And so we depriving ourselves of truth, that hurts us so much. And again, I'm not talking about people who just like are like, oh, I'm just gonna tell it how it is and be really rude and mean. That's like something completely different. You know, your soul is bringing illumination, is bringing light. And even if at first there's a sting, not because your soul is hurting you, but because our own ego is judging us, it leads to this like openness and love. And so when you're deprived, what deprivation always is depriving ourselves of our soul's love. Your soul is never deprived. Really think about that. And so wait, let me tell you some synonyms of deprivation: withdrawal, withholding, denial, sacrifice. So remember the definition of deprivation: the lack or denial of something considered to be a necessity. So within this spiritual context, your soul knows, oh my gosh, you need love, you need compassion, you need kindness, you need synchronicity, you need joy, you need fun, you need connection, you need genius ideas, you need vitality. You might need support, you need a coach, right? Or you might need to join a class or whatever it is. Your soul knows. And your soul is never, ever feeling deprived. So please, if you find yourself saying, oh, my soul is so tired, it just needs to fill itself up, that is actually not true. Your soul is filled up, your soul is blessed. What is feeling deprived is your human self. And that's normal, and that's okay. And absolutely, that's absolutely needed for us to recognize that. But know that you've got this essence of who you really are that is ready to like bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you. And so I'm just looking at my notes because I have some things here that I was like, I wanted to make sure. So really think about, where are you holding back? No, let me go back. So what using myself as an example, when I've had this experience on Monday and I could feel all the ways I wanted to pull back and wanted to deprive myself. Also, what was interesting is it was also causing me to show up less to service. So suddenly I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do an Instagram live. I feel so bad right now. And then I was like it clouded everything. So it wasn't just that I was withholding from my soul, suddenly connecting to others in a place of leadership and service and love didn't feel too good. Or it felt like I had to. Like, oh, I should do this, I should do that. And again, that happens to all of us. So please, there's no shame, there's no judgment. It's just recognizing that. And that's very different than me being in a place where I'm like, you know what? I need to take a day off. I need to go and receive. That's very empowering. And that feels very different. That's coming. I did that on Friday. Like, I know, like, I need to go get a massage. Like, I was just like, and that was coming from my soul. It wasn't coming from a place of deprivation or hiding myself or even soothing ourselves. Soothing, that word can sound so lovely, but if you think about it from the place of our ego structure, because that's the other thing I was finding myself like, oh, I could just watch Netflix. I could go eat, a vegan, gluten-free, no processed sugar, strawberry cake. not the whole cake, a slice. And it's like, and again, I'm not suggesting that any of those things are wrong. It's just noticing deprivation, pacifying, numbing, soothing that doesn't come from our soul. Our soul always nurtures us. Our soul is always bringing in the truth with so much love. It's not feeding us stuff to escape or distract. Now, again, it's perfectly fine if your soul's like, I love you so much. Oh my gosh. Yes, go do this to just get some relief. There's nothing wrong with that. But the podcast episode is called Deprivation Hinders Your Leadership. It's like when you deprive yourself, what you end up doing is depriving others from your medicine. Really think about that. When you deprive yourself, you end up depriving others from your gifts, from your unique medicine, from your presence. That's what happens. And what you really need to recognize, and again, like I said, this is normal. And what we're trying to do is stay longer and longer and longer in the flow of service and divine leadership. We're going to fall off of it, just like I did on Monday when that happened. It's normal. Those are all opportunities. Those are all part of what actually expands our medicine. But we want to practice the skill of getting back on, hooking back into the blessing that our soul is, right? Remembering, wait, my soul is never deprived, right? My soul is just like full of like love and blessings. Let me receive that. And so we're going to do a little inner journey to tune into that. Like, where might you be depriving yourself? Because even if you feel, well, I'm not depriving myself, I'm just experiencing deprivation from others. I want other people to, recognize me or notice my gifts or thank me for them or know how much pain I've been in and they're not, acknowledging that, right? Or I want others to take care of me in this way. Ultimately, all of that points to something that we're needing to give ourselves. It really is. And that can be hard. Like I have plenty of times where I'm like, I don't want to give this to myself. I want somebody else to give it to me. But then we can understand that's just my ego structure. That's my humanity. I can have compassion for it. Maybe I'm going to indulge in it for a bit. But my goal here is to be led by my soul, to create my legacy of love, to show up in service in the greatest way possible, not in hustle mode, not in overwhelm, not in depletion, but to truly show up. And I meant to show you this before I started. So I have a new tarot deck. I'm so excited that I bought the Light Seers Tarot. This has been on like my wish list for a few years. And finally I was like, I need to get it. And I always was so drawn to that picture because I don't know if you can see her eyes are closed, but you can still see her eyes open. Right? It's like this card, like this particular image. And so I was like, I'm going to pull a tarot card for the group for this call today. And I pulled her, the High Priestess. Look at this beautiful image. And again, I don't know if you can see, even with her eyes closed, you can see the pupils open there. And so we're going to use this kind of as an entryway to our inner journey. Oh, Lisa, thank you for writing that. I'm still figuring out my best way to serve. Yeah. And I think I'm so glad you said that. In case anybody, I'll go back to this card, anybody else is feeling that, even if you're still figuring it out, because probably 80% of people that come to talk to me in the consultation are unsure. I was unsure. That's a very normal part of the journey. But guess who's not unsure? Your soul. Your soul knows all of it, knows the details, knows the next step. And so if just coming back to this topic of deprivation, come back to that knowing. If like Lisa or anybody else watching this, if you're like, I don't know what my unique gifts are, I don't know how I'm meant to serve, I have this vague idea, or even you've known all these years, but you can feel your soul's guiding you to up level, right? That next level of service. Just remind yourself, but my soul knows, and my soul is guiding me in the step by little step for that to be revealed to me. So trust that if you don't have the whole picture, it's just because your soul's like, it would be too soon to show you everything. I've shared many times that was my path, right? When I left my career as a middle school teacher back in Chicago, teaching teenagers reading and science, I didn't have the whole blueprint. It was this really vague, well, I know I want to help people. Well, I know it'll probably involve energy healing. I know I wanted to involve parts work. It was this kind of nebulous idea. And it was the journey of, this is where I learned how to speak to my soul and teach this to others, was through that journey of like, so show me step by little step. And Lisa, if and anybody else is watching this and want to hear more, I just shared, I did a 3-day webinar, and I ended up having to teach day 3 uh, 2 times because I forgot to record it the first time. I really think my soul did that on purpose. And so what I ended up doing is I just put that webinar for free on YouTube. So if you go to my, well, on my YouTube channel, it's called How to Take Soul Led Action. Just that is like a 90-minute whole class on all of that. Like, how do we take action? How does our soul talk to us? What are the 5 different ways that our soul talks to us? Like, that would be super helpful. Just go, if anybody's listening to this and like, I want to hear more, just listen to that whole webinar. And you can listen to it throughout a whole week. But I really get very, very specific and practical on how to do that. I feel like that's the best way I've taught it in all these years, because every year you just get better at it, right? Every time you teach it. So just go and listen to that. I think that will be really helpful. And I lead some meditations in that as well. So anyway, thank you, Lisa, for asking that question, for sharing that. So back to this beautiful card. This is where we're going to use, I love this. Look at this beautiful pink. And I just love that shade of pink, like magenta, kind of reddish pink, that's coming down the crown of her head, right? And her eyes are closed, but her physical eyes are closed, but her spiritual eyes are so open. This is the High Priestess. I know some of you know that's my book that I'm writing, right? Priestess Rise Up. So we're going to enter this space because the High Priestess card, this is like the aspect of us that can see beyond the veil, that we can tune into our soul and have our soul show us, where am I needlessly depriving myself? Where my soul is like, has all of this light to give me, and we're like so either distracted or feel unworthy or feel unprepared or even feel scared to receive the blessing. Like, let's tune in and see what's going to come up. Okay, it's just going to be a short little meditation. I want to remind you of Blessed, which starts October 28th. I'll talk about it some more after the meditation, but it is a 6-week journey all about healing this wound of deprivation. And so it's going to be a 6-week container. And I've really gotten more clarity on this. The reason I was guided to do the 6-week container is I want you to experience what it's like to be, and I haven't done a weekly container like this in a long time. But it was like, no, this is like an accelerated 6-week container for you to feel, what does it feel like to every week enter a space where there's somebody that's creating sacred space for me, where there's somebody that is witnessing with compassion what's coming up for me. And you don't even have to share it. It's not like you have to go on there and share everything. In fact, that's not what this container is about. But just, I will be there creating the space to witness with compassion those wounds of deprivation, but also to hold the highest vision of you. Like, that's what coaching does. And I know many of you either have never worked with a coach or are waiting for the right time, or maybe you had a horrible experience with a coach before. I don't know. But you might even be like, I don't know if a coach would help me. Experience this 6 weeks of what it's like to be in that space. And it's $99. I am never selling this again for $99. A 6-week journey where, I'm going to share teachings. I'm going to lead meditations. I'm going to have very specific, and you can read the outline of the very specific themes we're going to go over every week. And I already have people who are signed up and who are on that private WhatsApp thread, and I'm sharing oracle cards there and music, and just like putting you in that space of receptivity, of being blessed, of remembering, wait a minute, my soul has my back. I'm not doing this alone. In fact, I can't even do it alone. So I'll put the link to that. And obviously there's a free breakthrough consult if you want to talk about blessed, that 6 week journey, if you read it and you're like, oh, I still have some hesitation, but really like that hour consult, and I opened some more slots in October, is to help you get clarity on what is the biggest block. Like, spoiler alert, usually it's not what you think it is. That's like amazing. And it's such a gift, right? It's such a gift to be in a space and be like, oh my gosh, I thought this was my biggest block, but it's actually this. Now I know what it is. And now I have a plan. And then I will share my 1 year coaching program with you, the details of that. If I feel I can help you more, I will share what that would look like and all the details of that. All right, let's go within. So take some nice cleansing breaths. I'm gonna get my little, I'm like obsessed with this spray that I made. It's like this Archangel Michael spray. I attended a class and the beautiful, lovely teacher had all these, it was like literally, she was like a medicine woman with all these, like, that's one of the lovely things about being in Mexico. It's an abundance of vegetation and green. So she had all this like fresh rosemary and rue and this other herb that I still don't know what it's called in English, but in Spanish is Santa Maria, Saint Maria. I mean, come on, you all know I love Mother Mary. So anyway, and we like built this, created this. So anyway, it's going to you too, right? There's like angel blessings. So breathing in, feel the earth underneath you. Feel already like how as soon as you close your eyes, and you don't even have to close your eyes, but as soon as you tune in, as soon as you set the intention to receive from your soul's right there. It's like a big embrace, like your soul's like, yes, I'm here. I'm always here. But as soon as we're like, we tune into it, as soon as we're like, yes, I want to receive from you, there is an answer, there is a response. And so bring your awareness to your heart. And if it helps, bring the palms of your hands, as I'm doing, over your heart center. And you can keep them there or you can relax them on your lap, but just bring your awareness to your heart, whatever helps you to do that. And start to feel your heart chakra, your heart center, your heart temple. Like there's a temple in your heart, a sacred space in your heart. And this sacred space in your heart is this beautiful portal, right? This portal to the soul plane, to where your soul resides. And just imagine that beautiful temple in your heart is just filling with light. And this moment is just showing up as beautiful, pearlescent, white, golden light. And then it's going to radiate out in front of you. And as it radiates out in front of you, you see yourself on this beautiful path, and in front of you, you see a temple. I'm seeing it as this like clear quartz, very simple, very beautiful temple. There's like pillars, and it has this beautiful entryway, and it's just radiating this like peace and love and truth. And so you're invited to enter this temple that is your heart's temple, right? Because you're here in that priestess energy, right? That energy that you can, oh, I can cross the veil, I can travel, I can journey to this temple. And so as you step inside, again, there's just beautiful light, beautiful crystals. The resonance is so pure here. It's this pristine energy. And as you step inside, Notice that there's this beautiful throne seat waiting for you. Maybe it's like a throne that a queen would sit in. Maybe it's a gorgeous, beautiful meditation cushion. Maybe it's a bean bag. I used to have this gorgeous, beautiful bean bag and that looked like a big purple lotus flower. I was just sitting on it. So imagine you're sitting on this beautiful seat, feeling this beautiful white light, this beautiful heart temple of yours. And notice how abundant your heart is, how your soul is just ready to abundantly fill you with light. And now you're going to ask, beautiful soul, where am I depriving myself from your love? Where am I? And specifically, this is going to be an area that is, because you're depriving yourself, it's hindering your service. It's slowing down your leadership. It's even slowing down your abundance. So ask, where am I holding back from myself? Where am I depriving myself? Show me, beautiful soul. And your soul always answers. So receive that answer in your heart, even if you don't hear it yet. Even if you're like, well, I don't know what my soul said, that's okay. Receive. Your soul is handing you that answer in your heart. Saying, this is where you're depriving yourself. This is where you're holding back from yourself. This is where you're blocking me from blessing you. And your soul always answers you and provides the medicine. So now receive like a blessing of light. And again, even if you don't hear the details, just feel your heart, like this temple is just filling with light and you're receiving it in your human body, in your cells, in your heart. And along with this blessing, your soul's going to give you a little step to take. Maybe it's a walk in nature. Maybe it's scheduling some sort of body care treatment. Maybe it's an email you've been putting off. Maybe it's reaching out for help. Maybe it's make time to cry. Like I needed to do that. I had a part that kept telling myself like, oh my gosh, you've already processed this. Like, I don't want to cry anymore about it. But knowing like, oh, that's not my soul talking. That's actually a part of me, but it's not my soul. So receive that step. And just receive a blessing from your soul, a blessing from the Divine Mother, blessings from your beautiful guardian angels. And please know this is all beyond any dogma of religion. This is the truth of who you are. And then take some deep cleansing breaths. Coming back into your physical body, feeling the earth underneath you, feeling your space. And if there's anything that came to you that you need to write down in your journal, write it down. If you want to share it in the chat or in the comments when you watch the replay, that's always so helpful to read. Like what came up for you? I know for me, I mean, I've been in this conversation, but it's more, my soul was just validating that. Like, yeah, you're depriving yourself of my love in the form of like, this is what my soul was telling me, in the form of like loving words, like encouragement, of like cheerleading, of almost like, I never played sports, so it's funny that this was the image I got, but almost like my soul was watching me play soccer, let's say, and it was just like, oh my gosh, you've practiced so much, you've done so well. And it's not about like how many goals did you make or whatever. It's just like my soul's just like there as this like loving cheerleader, just so proud of me, so like knows all the tumbles, all the scraped knees, all the like really big hits in the head with the ball, right? And my soul just loves me. And that's what my soul's saying like you're depriving yourself of receiving that from me. And so, I just share that with you in case it's helpful for you. All right, so as we end, I know this has been a longer episode, but that's okay. Sometimes that's what's needed. I'm just going to pull a card for everyone from the Wild Woman Rising. And always, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, follow me on Instagram, direct message me there. Probably the best way to stay on top of everything I'm doing, not probably, the best way is to sign up for my newsletter because I share all the stuff there. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, so let's pull this card. What is the message from your soul? Final message from your soul about what we were talking about today. Ooh, fox medicine. Use your cunning. Look at that. Gorgeous woman with that beautiful fox. I love that it has such an autumn feel. So it's so interesting. It's like really tune into fox medicine. Foxes are clever. Foxes are so like, that term foxy, they're so magnetic, right? They're so compelling and attractive. And this isn't about like standards of beauty. It's like your soul is saying, embrace that aspect of you, that foxiness of you, that cleverness of you, that magnetism of you, right? That like, foxes are so, well, how animals are, but foxes are so sensual, right? They're like really, if you've ever seen, I'm like obsessed with nature shows. So I see a lot of like foxes leaping and they're so like, kind of like cats, interesting, like so attuned to the environment and like really just being led. So I feel like there's something about that. You meditate on this card and see what it means for you. I love this woman here shown, this goddess depicted here with that feather in her hair. Tune into that aspect of your medicine, whatever it looks like for you. All right, lovelies, thank you so much. I will see you soon. And go be blessed, and be the blessing that you are. Bye.